For more information on today's program, contact Erica Taylor Montgomery at threegirlsmedia.com. Now, back to Punch, Media and Marketing Made Easy on the Bay Area's business leader, AM 1220 KDOW.
Good morning and welcome back to Punch, Media and Marketing Made Easy on 1220 AM KDOW, the Wall Street Business Network, where we help you punch through your competition and deliver a total knockout with your public relations, your marketing, your social media, and so much more. We're in round 2 of Punch today, and we're talking about the art and value of public speaking for entrepreneurs. Our guest is Rick Deutsch with the Carpe Diem Experience, and he's known as Mr. Half Dome. You can find him online at MrHalfDome.com. And Rick, let's talk a little bit about tools that people can use when they go out and do public presentations. Of course, you can do a public presentation without using anything, without having handouts, without having a PowerPoint presentation. But I often find when I do public speaking that offering a PowerPoint has, so much power and can go so far into adding to a dynamic presentation and making it look even more professional. Would you recommend PowerPoint, and what other tools do you suggest?
Yeah, let me back up first, because unless people have had experience and training in talking, in public speaking, presentation skills, they're going to need to pick up that training. And before we jump into the actual tools of PowerPoint, what I'd like to suggest is if you don't work at a major corporation that has these in-house classes that you can take on presentation skills, that you pick up those skills. And I think one of the best locally, and it's so easy to do, it's called Toastmasters.
Sure.
And I know we have a broad audience from, beginning people and experienced people, but if you haven't had that exposure in front of an audience other than your family at Thanksgiving dinner, I'd suggest you join Toastmasters. It's very friendly, and they will walk you through how to act in front of other people. It's quite a heart razor when you actually have thousands of eyes looking at you. So actually getting exposure through that. Another good resource is Dale Carnegie. Years and years ago, I took the Dale Carnegie training, and they also have a very good component on public speaking. Another resource just to get you the experience in doing that is the National Speakers Association, of which I'm a member. There's many chapters around the country. Here in the Bay Area, we have a very active chapter. And this is for the industry or association for professional speakers. But you can attend as a guest. They also have a training program for new speakers. So in a year's time, they can give you the whole business of speaking. So I think, before we jump in to do public speaking and run out there, is we get some training in it. So, that's what I would suggest first. Then directly to answer your question about PowerPoint, we've all heard the joke about death by PowerPoint. Okay. Well, it can be that way, and it's all in the techniques that you use to present PowerPoint. What I honestly believe, I like PowerPoint because I can present images and graphics to my audience. There's nothing more boring than hearing a presentation of a person just standing up in a monotone, rambling on and on. Humans need interaction. We need other inputs to our senses, and graphics, videos, things like that really perk up and make the message hone in. I think the studies say just in a normal talk, you'll remember about 10, 20%. But if you put graphics and pictures in there, it goes up to about 30%. And that's what you want, is more content. So what I'd recommend if you're doing PowerPoint or on the Apple, other tools, just a presentation tool, keep it simple. Very few bullets. They're not engineering talks with very intricate diagrams. Very few bullets, please, very few bullets. And try to put a graphic on every page that supplements the particular message that you're trying to convey. Make it be a fun session. And don't go crazy with colors. What I recommend is just a black background. The highest contrast you're going to get is white. White or gold really stands out well. Don't make multicolors, those kinds of things. Look at your text, your fonts. I recommend Arial, which is a very standard font for presentations. Look at your size. Try to keep consistent on the size. Again, don't get carried away if you have to use that. Now, include audio. With the new PowerPoint tools, you can inject a little audio clips. You can put video clips in. So if you're, depending on your product, service, whatever, you could take video clips of that and actually embed them in there and run them for you 20 seconds or so. And the audience tends to appreciate that. They tend to perk up. Another thing that I highly recommend for speakers is be very fluent with your machine, meaning your laptop. Use a remote slide clicker. One thing that really annoys me is when you go to presentations and the speaker walks all the way back to his laptop, hits the arrow key, and goes to the next slide.
Sure.
So invest in a slide clicker. The other thing that I highly recommend is get a bright green laser. Some points on your slide you're going to want to point to. The little red ones that I see just don't cut it. They're just not powerful enough. So invest, a couple bucks, go on the internet and get a bright green laser to emphasize your particular point.
I didn't even know there were green lasers available, so that's a great tip.
Exactly. And it really stands out. I found with the red laser, it just blends in with a lot of the colors on the screen, and you really have to tell the audience where to look. But with this green laser, it's almost like it's going to burn a hole through the screen.
Wow, nice.
So, but there are many tools you can use on PowerPoint. Get familiar with it. One advice I give to people is remember, it's going to be you and, several hundred people perhaps in the audience. You have to know your laptop. You have to be very comfortable with running your laptop. A lot of the support staff at events, they're not experts in your particular laptop. So if something happens, you need to know how to deal with it. And another good tip, Erica, is always have your presentation on a flash drive.
Yes.
You never know when your particular computer is just going to say, I've had enough. But you can borrow a laptop from another speaker. So all these little tips comes out in the training, and that's what I enjoy sharing with people is rules of the roads, the school of hard knocks.
Sure. And again, you can get that training either through Toastmasters, through the Dale Carnegie program, through the National Speakers Association. And Rick, are there also any books that you would recommend for new public speakers? Yes,
I thought maybe you might ask that question. I know the audience had better have a pencil and a piece of paper, and I can actually provide this list also to them if they write me either through the Facebook at Mr. Half Dome or directly at mrhalfdome@gmail.com. But here we go. I got about 8 of them, and these are great. This is part of your library as a professional. The first is called Speaking is an Audience-Centered Sport. It's by Marjorie Brody. The second is Presentation Skills of Steve Jobs. The presentation skills of Steve Jobs. He was excellent. It's sad that he left us. But if you ever attended or seen a replay of an Apple presentation, oh my gosh, the messages are conveyed perfectly. And he's was a skilled person in doing that. Another good one is Paid to Speak or Speak More. These are publications of the National Speakers Association. They're like best practices of professional speakers who do this for a living. They're not just hobbyists, doing this. This is how they earn their income. So these books are compilations of their best practices. Boring to Bravo. That's another one. Kristen Arnold wrote that. Oh, here's one I think everybody should at least take a look at. 3,500 good jokes for speakers. You really should have it fun for your audience. So, if it's appropriate, go ahead and throw little jokes in. Slideology. So we talked about PowerPoint. How do you do it? What are the accepted standard rules for PowerPoint? Slideology by Nancy Duarte. And lastly, now you may laugh at this, The Complete Idiot's Guide to Public Speaking. Get all the sources you can, read them. This is your business. You want to be the expert and recognized as a person who's on the podium. He or she has control. And so those are some pretty good sources.
Terrific. I think certainly with some of those books, if not all of them, that you can really go a long way. But I think it's important to mention that you shouldn't rely on books alone. I think it's so important to get that training through an organization like Toastmasters, where you get real experience standing up in front of an audience and practicing your craft. And it really does take a lot of practice. I know that when I gave my first keynote presentation that I asked a lot of my business colleagues, family and friends to come over to my house and listen to me. And so I could practice on them and get used to the tone, the flow, make sure that I had my topics, fairly memorized, with a few notes in hand. But it really helped me so much to be able to practice before I gave that first
Excellent.
presentation.
I support rehearsing is so important. And here's another good tip. Video yourself.
Great idea.
We all have cameras, phones, and whatnot that you can record yourself. You may not know that you scratch your ear, every 30 seconds, or you say a lot. Those are little nuances that, places like Toastmasters will help you with, but actually seeing yourself and going, gee, my wife missed that. My cousins, when I gave the talk to them, they didn't even mention that I shuffle my feet or I move around a lot. There are little annoying nuisances, and if the audience starts drifting and starts counting how many times you touch your eyebrow or whatever it might be, that's going to be a distraction. So again, I totally agree. Get your talk down cold. Remember, you're the expert. You should do this extemporaneously. You don't memorize a talk, because if you ever lose it, oh boy, that's hard to recover when you're pure memorization. But again, with PowerPoint, You don't talk to the slides. They're just little cues so that you can speak as a normal person. And that's what people really empathize with, that we're one of them and you're conveying your message. But again, you're the expert. Get to be the expert.
You know, I often remind my clients of that they are the expert in their industry, and no one can talk about their particular industry or subject matter better than they can, because ideally they know it inside and out. They're the professional and their audience is not. So they should have some level of confidence going into the talk, knowing that they really are the pro when it comes to their subject matter, and that they're going to be educating people who don't know a lot necessarily about that particular subject.
Totally agree again. Quite often we don't know our worth, you know. We don't know that we are really the expert. You know, I'm really good. I know all about hiking and Yosemite, and I can tell you, public speaking and how to lecture on cruise ships. But I just assume a lot of people know as much as I do, but they don't. So recognize your worth, recognize you're the expert, and get out there face to face. We're
talking about the art and value of public speaking for entrepreneurs. Our guest is Rick Deutsch with Carpe Diem Experience, and he's known as Mr. Halfdome.com. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk a little bit about audience questions and how you can handle those. I'm your host, Erica Taylor Montgomery, and you're listening to Punch Media and Marketing Made Easy on 1220 AM KDOW. We'll be right back after the break.